Hi, my name is Jordan Morrow, and I'm excited to be with you today. We're going to be mastering data literacy. Through this, we're going to cover a why, a what, and a how of looking at data and AI literacy. Join me on this journey. To begin, let's talk about just how much data there is, and I'm going to use an analogy, kind of a funny one. Have you ever gone and eaten at the Cheesecake Factory? Well, the Cheesecake Factory menu is massive. And sometimes it can be overwhelming and you're deciding, what in the world do I want to eat? Well, the world of data and AI right now is in a similar place. There's so many topics, so many things that we should be doing, can be doing, and want to be doing, but it becomes very difficult to figure out where do we go with this. And so the reality is, let's ask a question or two. Do you think you need to be able to code large language models for AI? Do you think you need to do statistics and data science? The reality is we don't need to be all that technical when it comes to these things. What we need to do is improve in our skills in data and AI literacy so that we can use them effectively in our careers and in our personal lives. So let's jump into that why around this a little bit more and figure out why data literacy is where it is today and why we need it. When we take a look at the predictions on the data that have come out, a prediction that came out maybe 1.5 to 2 years ago from Statista said that the global data sphere by the year 2025, which by the way is less than 12 months away, the data prediction was 180 plus zettabytes worth of data. Now, if you're wondering how big that number is, get a pen and paper and just write 180 and put 21 zeros after it. It's a lot of data. And guess what? That data prediction came out before ChatGPT took the world by storm. So that number's probably gone up. But does the amount of data really matter? Or we could go with what I term the 4 rights of data. It's all about the right data at the right time for the right objective with the right data literacy. It doesn't necessarily matter if it's big data, small data, whatever size data it is. What we're trying to do is make better decisions and deliver better outcomes with the data. So if I were to ask you a question and say, what is the purpose of using data? The answer is that in the end, the purpose of using data is to deliver decisions or outcomes. It's that simple. But I want to also illuminate something here. Data is just data. It just sits there, and it needs something to bring it to life. The thing that can bring it to life can be a human or a machine through analytics. And there are 4 levels of analytics that exist. Did you know that? The 4 levels are descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Let me describe those a little bit more for you. The first level is descriptive analytics. And descriptive is how it sounds. It is a description of a what. What happened in the past, what is occurring right now, could even be what our prediction is. But it's just a what level. It's an observational level of what is happening in the data. We want to move beyond that. We want to know why that observation is occurring. And that's your diagnostic analytic. Think of a doctor's office. A doctor is telling you why you are sick. And when that doctor understands why you're sick, they can help you get better. They can build predictions. If you do this, this can occur. And then the 4th level, as we just covered the 3rd with predictive, is prescriptive analytics. This is where the machine actually can tell you what to do. So those are the 4 levels of analytics. Those levels of analytics will operate on the data itself to help us find information and insight. But then we need to take that information and insight and make smart decisions with it. Now, those decisions don't have to be perfect. In reality, I don't need all of us writing code doing all these things. What I need us doing is finding the insight and making decisions off of it. That's really the crux of what data and AI literacy is. It's this ability to utilize these tools in a supportive fashion to help us make smarter decisions. And it's not just these surface level analytics that we want to look at. Behavioral analytics, really getting to the crux of what is driving the movement in the data, can help us make better decisions. When we think of the what now, we just went through a why level, right? There's all this data out there. Organizations, we hear about AI all the time, but if we all don't need to be data scientists or coding for AI, where do we fit into this picture? These might be questions that you have, right? Are you fearful jobs are going to be taken? Do you not know if you have a place at the data and analytics table? Data and AI literacy should empower us to effectively, efficiently make smarter decisions. And one clarifier on data and AI. These can be overwhelming topics to think about. But if we simplify these things back, what they truly are is supportive tools that are there to help you do your job better. Right? We have personal computers, the internet, we have cell phones. All of these are tools that can augment us in our lives. That's what I want you to think about when it comes to data and AI. These are augmentative things to empower us to do our jobs better. So let's define data literacy for you. The definition I've used for years is one that I used when I worked at Click, where I actually helped pioneer and invent this entire space. Now, we morphed the definition. I'll use both definitions with you. The first definition was the ability to read, work with, analyze, and argue with data. Now, the argue with became a little bit kind of confusing for people. Are we arguing with our data in front of us, or are we putting a position forward and arguing it? Instead, we changed the word to be communicate. Now, the definition is the ability to read, work with, analyze, and communicate with data. Notice what term I didn't put in there, and that term was data scientist. I don't need everybody to be a data scientist. I just want you confident and comfortable in utilizing data. That's it. So how do we do that? Well, when we look at these 4 characteristics that make up the definition of data literacy, and don't worry, I'll get to AI literacy here in a second. But when we look at these concepts, these 4 characteristics, I might ask you the question of reading, working with, analyzing, and communicating with data. Which one do you think is the most important? Most of the time when I ask that, people say communicate. Well, they're wrong, unfortunately. The most important characteristic on there is the ability to read data effectively and accurately. And the reason for this is if you can't read it, how are you going to analyze it, work with it, and communicate with it effectively? But if reading is the most important, the secret sauce to this is your ability to communicate with data effectively. Have you ever heard the term data storytelling? It's quite a hot topic, or has been for a while. Because imagine a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and I have found that pot of gold. And then I come to you and I cannot communicate, for whatever reason, how you get to it. Now think of that within data and analytics. We have all this data that we're mining, trying to find insight. And let's say I found the golden nugget, the best pot of gold insight, and I have no way to communicate it with you. It might not come to fruition. But let's talk about the 4 characteristics themselves to give you a more in-depth understanding of this. Now, one clear thing with these 4 characteristics, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Let's make sure we remember that. Different roles and different levels in an organization are going to need to look at these 4 characteristics differently. The ability to read legitimately means being able to read and understand data. It could be a data visualization, it could be a pivot table in Excel, it could be text for that matter. But we're trying to read it and comprehend it and understand it. Working with data, this could be various different things. You might be a machine learning engineer and you are in depth with the data. You might be a data scientist running experiments and statistics. Or you might just be a data user who is receiving this information, you're reading it, maybe working with it a little bit, and trying to find insight. But understand, I don't need you to be a data scientist. What I need is that you're developing your skills and abilities to work with the data to operate through those 4 levels of analytics to find that insight and information. The third characteristic is just that. It's analyze the data. We don't need to go over that much more. That's using those 4 levels of analytics to empower you through. And then the final one is communicate. Once again, it's the secret sauce. Now, think for a minute. If I said to you, I ran a really cool Markov chain analysis the other day, would you have any idea what a Markov chain analysis is? Maybe, maybe not. Just think of it as a statistical model. But what if I said to you I ran a cool probability analysis? I have now changed the terminology, hopefully making it easier for you to understand. We've got to remove the jargon and the technical terminology. When we communicate, I want to make it so everybody is comfortable communicating efficiently and effectively. And by the way, if you're not comfortable with something someone says in data, I want you raising your hand and I want you poking questions at it. There's no point in being lost like a deer in the headlights with this. So those are our 4 characteristics of data literacy. Well, what about AI literacy? Is it much different? Not really. You can use all 4 of those characteristics in a similar way. Are we good at prompting and asking questions of the AI that we're using? And can we then read the results efficiently and effectively? Do we know how to work with and analyze what the AI is giving us so we can understand, is it hallucinating? Are these results accurate? And then finally, are we able to communicate out? Are we able to enact these decisions with the AI or data and communicate to the masses what we're trying to do? Once again, we're not trying to turn you technical, but I'd love to make it so that you can be more confident and comfortable using data and AI in your careers. So that being said, is there a fear out there that data and AI are going to take over everything? Yeah, I'm sure some people have it. But I'm a big believer that what we're trying to do is balance between the human element, you, and the data and AI element. The data and AI can say one thing. I want you to bring your personal gut feel, your intuition, your experience to the data and AI so that you can understand, does this really make sense or does it not? Don't ever think that we're trying to rid the human element. I want your creativity in there.